Well, let's see. Good morning, good afternoon, family, friends. Good to be back. Let's see, I'm connected to Facebook and I'm connected to YouTube. So I'm going to dive in. How was your weekend? I hope everybody's doing well. I missed you all on Thursday and Friday, but I feel like I've got some great things to share with you. Let me know if you're here. Say hello in the comments. Let me know you can hear me and see me. And we'll get things kicked off here in a moment. Get ready to start your week. Let's see here. Anybody out there? Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can see me. Make sure everything's working. Took a couple days off. Captions. I need to do. What'd you do this weekend that was great? What'd you do this weekend that was for you? Let's see here. Jamie, you can see me and hear me. Good morning, Jamie. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. Sorry, I was busy preparing a thing to throw up on the screen here in a few minutes. Well, let's get started. And hopefully some others will join us. And if not, hopefully they'll catch the replays. But how was your weekend? What did I do this weekend? I spent most of Saturday just relaxing, recovering, recharging, and avoiding homework and procrastinating, which is something I shouldn't be doing, but I was. And then yesterday I went and spent some time by the pool and just enjoyed more downtime. But I had a great week last week. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Let's see. What'd you do, Jamie? Oh, I really do need to get a haircut. Oh, goodness. I'm sorry to hear that. Jamie was not feeling well this weekend. I did not, that's no good. I hope that you're feeling better today, though. I hope it wasn't something you ate at your summit. Anyway, let me stop there and let me just share some. So first of all, I'm grateful for the people in my life today. I hope that you've taken time to reflect on what you're grateful for. Jamie, I know you said you were ill this weekend, but what good was able to come from that? You don't have to, that's a rhetorical question, but just something to think about. You know, what were you able to do that you are grateful for in all of that? And I just have to say, so a good friend of mine was gracious enough to gift me a ticket to Global Leadership Summit 2020, and I was able to attend virtually on Thursday and Friday of last week, which is why I wasn't here. It was ongoing. Their lunch was a little later in the day, so I wasn't able to be here live. I was attending online, listening to the different speakers, and wow, what an amazing lineup of speakers. So you may or may not have heard of some of these, but Craig Groeschel, Lisa Turkhurst, Beth Comstock, former President George W. Bush. I know Jamie is a fan. And then Paula Ferris and more. And it was just a inspirational messages coming from so many people talking about leadership in challenging times, leading through change. Craig Rochelle likes to call leading through the dip was one of his components of his presentation or his speech, if you will. And let me just stop right there for a minute. So I mentioned we did hear from former President George W. Bush, and we weren't allowed to record, or we're not supposed to quote anything that came from that. So I just want to summarize one of the points that he talked about that stood out to me. One, what a tough job to have, leading a country, whether you agree or disagree with the things that he did. Just being in leadership in a country in a time like September 11th, 2001, right? Think about that from just a challenge and obstacle standpoint, and all of the things that you could point out as potentially failures, or all of the things that you could point out that may have been done better, right? Being the one responsible for the decisions being made that day in the U.S. I would not want to have been in his shoes. And just to hear some of the challenges that he talked about during that time frame was inspirational. But then he shared something that I'm going to summarize briefly, and then I'll move on because I don't want to get in any trouble. But the fact is that he's never once spoken out against his successors. And he applied that not only to his presidency, but applied that to experiences with other leaders in the country, CEOs who have stepped down and then proceeded to talk poorly or illy of their successors, instead of what he suggested, which is just focusing on leading forward. What's the next big thing you can work on and dedicate your time and energy to? And if you look at some of the projects that he's done since leaving the presidential office, you can see that reflected in some of his work. So that was a good message that I took away from his speech, or his interview, if you will. And just a great overall message. So Craig Groeschel kicked things off, opening presentation, and then we heard from him a couple other times throughout with some tidbits. But his main point was talking about what is leadership, and I thought it might be beneficial to share that as well as some other takeaways with you today. He said leadership is about influence and trust, and I took that both from a organizational standpoint and from an individual standpoint, right? Isn't that everything that we think about when it comes to what a leader is? A leader is simply someone who creates an environment where you can trust them and where there's an ability to influence people. And I think that each of us, so let me just back up. No, we all have at least small circles of peers, friends, coworkers, and maybe even some people that look up to us that already trust us and have some level of influence within these. We each have some level of influence, good or bad, within these circles. Our examples are what people are most likely to follow, if you think about it. So I think, first of all, that we're all born with some level of leadership ability, right? We all have the ability to create and strengthen and build or tear down relationships. And that is influence at its best. Your ability to create or tear down relationships is directly related to influence. But so we're all born with some level of leadership, and we can work to develop these things. And, we may never become well-known influencers. We might not have, 10,000 followers on Instagram, but who cares, right? We have our circles of friends and peers and people that might look up to us or look to us to see what example we're setting. And so it's on us then to demonstrate that positive component of influence in our own circles. We lead in our families. We lead in our office environments, in our daily lives, by nurturing those relationships with the people around us. How we nurture those leadership skills and grow in our ability to influence and build trust with others. How do we do that is the question. And there's been several references, or there were several references throughout the summit. I'm still rewatching some of the content because it's just impactful. I'm trying to process a bunch of it, but Albert Tate is the founder and senior pastor of Fellowship Church, and he was the one that closed out the entire summit for the week. And wow, he brought with him a powerful message. And I thought some of his key points might be good to share here. First of all, he talks about where leadership is and is not. He says leadership is not an external thing that we have to pursue or that we have to acquire. He said leadership is something that grows within you, and we have to nurture it. We have to feed it. We have to help it thrive within each of us in order to be successful leaders and build that environment of trust and confidence in others in order to influence them. And then think about the things that we're influencing those people with. So he talked about 3 particular Bible stories, and I'm just going to summarize because I'm not a pastor, preacher, and I know for a fact I could not do the stories the same justice that he did. But he started with a couple points. He had a few points, and I'm just going to take away 2 of the major ones really quickly. And he said that as individuals and as leaders, we need to be able to recognize, not just recognize, but to take action against the injustice that we see in the world around us. If you want to influence positively, then you can't be an inactive bystander. You have to choose to take action. When you see injustice, whatever form it comes in, you have to be willing to say something. You have to be willing to stand up. You have to be willing to intervene. I go back to my days as a advocate in the Army for survivors of sexual assault, and that education and training and awareness piece was. I think they did a great job of discovery when they built that training program to talk about the fact that there is no such thing as an innocent bystander. You choose to take action or you choose to ignore the things that are going on around you. And I think it applies in leadership all the way around. If you see something, say something. And it doesn't just apply to, sexual advocacy. It applies to any situation that you see that is systemically wrong. And he talked about systemic or systematic injustices by equating it to looking around the people seated at the table with you. Who do you spend your time with? How are you treating the people that you don't spend your time with? Because they look different, they act different, they think different, they believe something different than you. Jamie and I don't believe everything the same at the same level. I'm almost confident, and we still get along, right? I treat her with the same dignity and respect that I would treat the next person that comes along. I treat her the same as I would treat any of you, I guess is the easiest way to say that, right? Sorry, Jamie, you're here, I'm picking on you. And then that leads into his next major point, which was compassion. Leaders need to be compassionate leaders. You need to show those same people, regardless of the differences, the same level of compassion you would to the people seated at your table. And let me back up, because the people seated at your table was an important note. And his comments or his phraseology was more specifically about you can't do anything about changing who's seated at your table if you're sitting at the table. So you need to stand up and he actually talked about flipping tables. But again, I won't do those same stories justice. So just think about who is represented at your philosophical table. Theoretical, philosophical, doesn't matter. Your table. Who's seated at your table? Who are you allowing in your world, and who are you ignoring? Who are you turning out, and why? And then showing those people that you would have turned out before the same level of compassion as those that might already be seated at your table. He challenged us to look at the people in our lives and ask the question, who would be surprised right now if you poured your compassion out on them? Who is that in your life? And he challenged us to go out and reach out to them and pour that compassion out on them. And so I'm going to challenge you, because I'm sharing those messages. I'm going to pass that challenge on to you and say, who can you show a significant amount of compassion toward that you may not have shown that level of compassion for before? And that right now, so again, I'm processing so much from this summit that there's just so many good messages. There's so many I want to go back and read through. Not read through, but hopefully I'll get some notes here that I can skim through. But they're supposed to be sending those out. But that's the takeaways for today is you are a leader. Whether you like it or not, people look at you for what you're doing, and that will influence the way they respond in kind, the way they take action. And, it goes back to the old phraseology that, negativity breeds negativity. Positivity will also breed positivity. And I'll tell you, it's harder. It's harder to do intentionally, but it creates so much more positive influence around you if you can just do your best to remain positive, to be compassionate toward others, regardless of their circumstances. And here's the thing, right? You never know where they're coming from, what they're doing, or what they're facing in their life today. I don't know what each of you is facing today in your life, but I'm here talking to you the same as I would if you were visiting my office. And I'm showing the same level of compassion to you online as I would if you were visiting me here, as I would the people who are here visiting me. And I challenge you to go out and do that, to be the compassionate leaders, to be thoughtful and to speak out against the injustices that you see and choose to ignore on a day-to-day basis. And I'm not talking about things like racial injustice. Yes, I want you to stand up against that as well. But I'm talking about injustices in the system that you're involved in. You're in your workplace. There are injustices happening every day that I know each of us chooses not to say something about because it's easier, because somebody's already said something and nothing was ever done. For whatever reason, those injustices exist. And to truly be an effective leader, it's time to stand up and say something. It's not right. It shouldn't be this way. Just because it's always been that way doesn't mean anything. And now, more than ever, with everything going on in the world, is the best time to stand up and say something. The systems that worked before aren't going to work much longer if they're still in place and still working. That's the fact, right? With everything going on in the world, the way things are changing, the pace that things are changing, things will not look the same tomorrow. And if you allow those injustices to continue wherever you are, it's not going to get any better. That's the bottom line. So that's really all I had to share today. Hopefully there was something in there for you. And let's see, let me go back to the comments. So Jamie says, something she ate Saturday upset her. Okay, well, I'm I'm going to leave the rest of that out. Grateful for a boyfriend who didn't mind you being sick at his house. Okay, that's enough of that conversation for me. But no, I agree. That's very gracious of him, and I would be grateful also. And then you've told River, it doesn't matter who's in the office, the presidential office, they will almost always be wrong, and everyone thinks that they could do better. Yeah, absolutely, right? We don't have to agree. That's the great thing about the ability to choose, is we don't have to agree with each other about anything. We don't have to see eye to eye, but we also don't have to discount other human beings because they don't agree with us, right? It's not our job to convince them that they're wrong. And if they're wrong, so what? Who cares? Let them be wrong. Let them be proud in their thoughts and their beliefs. All we're here to do, all we're called here to do, is to support them regardless, to share in the knowledge that we have and the experiences that we bring, but we don't have to agree. And that's the thing. Albert Tate talked about that too. Wow, what did he say? He said we are a cancellation society. We are too quick to cancel each other out based off of what you believe versus what I believe. Look at our political environment, right? If you are not pro-Trump, or you are pro-Trump, you're wrong, right? And you're racist, or all of these things. Just because I happen to support some particular policies or disagree with some particular policies, it doesn't make me a racist. Just because I support a particular person in leadership or don't support a particular person in leadership doesn't make me a racist. It doesn't make me hate things or the people around me simply because I choose to either offer support or not offer support to that leadership. So we were so quick to dismiss other people and cancel them out because we don't agree. And we have to figure out how to live together. Just because my views aren't the same as yours doesn't mean you get to cancel me out and we no longer have to live together in this world. We have to live together. We have to learn how to live together again, and stop this cancellation society where people just get to dismiss you and everything you're about simply because you choose not to agree with them. It's wrong. I could say a bunch about that, I think, but I don't know that it would be appropriate for a Facebook live stream. And thank you, Jamie. I don't mind picking on you. I also try to respect all views. I do have difficulties with some as well, more than others, but I have to, and that's why, I think it's important to talk about compassion today, is I have to remember that even if I don't agree with your views and the things that you choose to do in your life, one, it's your life. I'm not in control of your life. I'm not in control of my own life. I'm doing the best of my ability to manage the things that I have, to manage where my life is going and steward it well. That's what I believe. That's what I'm in control of. And I'm just doing the best I can to steward that well. But at the end of the day, I don't believe it's mine and that I'm in full control of it. And therefore, I'm certainly not in control of anyone else's life. And I try to be respectful, but it goes back to this word compassion. Having that level of compassion for people that I don't see eye to eye with is challenging. And that's why I'm challenging you, me, and anyone else that might be listening today to just look at how can we be more compassionate towards others and stand up against injustice. Those are my two main points for today. Oh, I don't know. I think that's all I have for now. I don't know what else to share, so I'm always open to comments, feedback, and I was going, actually, so here, I'm trying out a new tool. It is the ability to text me directly, although if you have my personal cell phone number, this is not the same number. This is an app that I'm testing out, that I've been given early access to, and I have to say, maybe they just sold me on it because I'm with the likes of Tony Hawk and Gary Vaynerchuk and some other people who have access to this app right now, and it's pretty cool. It allows me the ability to engage across a broad range of people with individualized text. So it really is me. There's an automated series at the beginning, but then everything else comes from me directly, and we have the ability to one-on-one engage by text there. So let's be friends more than online friends. Let's be friends via text. And if you don't already have a good number to text me, text the word friend to 757-210-4418, and let's have a conversation. Tell me what's on your mind. Tell me the challenges you're facing. Tell me what you'd like to hear about. Anything's game. Don't really have a particular focus there yet. So I'm still growing, still learning, still wondering what might be most beneficial to share here with you. So that's that. Let's see here. Jamie says, oh. Okay, the text, got it. Oh, yes. So I got to see Gary Sinise last year at, well, interesting. There's some controversy around it right now, but he came out to visit Liberty University is where they hosted him. So I went out there. It's just around the corner from me, and I got to listen to him speak. And this book is, Gary Sinise does a lot for the military and veteran community. And this book is a document of his journey into why he is as grateful for the service to our country as he is. And just an excellent book. And he gave those away. It was wonderful. But we also got to hear, I wished I could remember his name right now. We also got to hear from a World War II veteran who spent like some ungodly amount of time at sea after their ship was sunk. And they were just floating, no lifeboats, none of that, just a group of them floating in the ocean for an unimaginable amount of time, and faced some unimaginable things. And he was also out there talking about his book, but the stories that he started to tell, they had to cut him off. He was just talking on, and then, and it was amazing. What a great experience. Thanks for pointing that book out, because it just reminded me of all of that, a flood of memories. So what else do you got for me? Anything else? Anybody else want to share anything that they did over the weekend, or something that's been impactful for them lately? If not, I can close us out there. Was it the USS Indianapolis? I don't remember for sure, Jamie. Let me Google it real quick. I'll have to, I don't see it right away. I'll have to go back and find that. It might have been, I just can't remember for sure, so I don't want to misquote or give the wrong information. But it was just an incredible story of what this gentleman lived through. And they really, World War II veterans really were our greatest, the greatest generation, right? The things that these people lived through, the things that they encountered, the things they endured, the stresses that they faced, were just a different world from what we have to live with now. And the things that we complain about from day to day just have no comparison in the reality of it all. Yes, yes, they were, Jamie, the greatest generation. So I know that, well, I hope to work this week to put some more thought into how I share these different stories, and hopefully string my thoughts together a little bit better, a little off track with just so much going on, and a little off kilter, if you will. But I'm going to continue to pour through the information and content that I was exposed to, and see what messages stand out and what I might be able to share with you that I think would be impactful for you. All I'm sharing, by the way, are the things that I found impactful to me that I hope will also, when I impart them on you, be impactful. So that's all I have for today. I appreciate you being here. Again, don't forget to text me. Let's see, I'll put that back up one more time. Captions, there we go. Text the word friend to 757-210-4418, and let's have some conversation there. Let me know what's on your mind. Let me know what you'd like to hear about. What can I do to help? Until tomorrow, I hope that you all have a great day. Jamie, I hope you continue to work on feeling better. And as always, thanks so much for being here. See you tomorrow.